that the tales open us up to something, which is more than the linear lives that we often find ourselves in, our daily lives. They open us up to something else that is difficult to put in words, but stories somehow capture the essence of a deeper meaning to life, and with it spirituality. And fairy tales are wonderful truths, aren't they?
Hello and welcome to episode 123 of Toward a Better Life.
Forests of green, man is seen by his eyes, he cannot see. Forests I've seen, the man of green with my eyes I have seen. Remember what's told by the ancients of old, they made a wish for the good of us all. Light a candle in tune by the phase of the moon and make a wish for us all.
Spiral of magic, circle of life that's always been and always will. Turning and turning, the wheel keeps on turning around forevermore. Remember what's told by the ancients of old, they made a wish for the good of us all. Light your candle in tune by the phase of the moon. Make your wish for us all.
Forests are green, man is seen by his eyes, he cannot see. Forests I've seen, the man of green with my eyes I have seen. Remember what's told by the ancients of old, they made a wish for the good of us all. Light a candle in tune by the phase of the moon and make your wish for us all. Make your wish for us all. Make your wish for us all.
That was music from Willowolf with Forests from their Children of the Sun album, used by permission. We're going to hear more from Willowolf later in the show. There's a link in the show notes for getting in touch with and downloading more from Willowolf. Be sure to check them out. Toward a Better Life is a podcast of and for like-minded people sharing stories, ideas, and activities on what we can do to generate better lives individually and collectively. In today's world, there truly is a need to seek balance, harmony, compassion, kindness on so many levels, personally, culturally, spiritually, naturally, to name a few, but it begins with each one of us as individuals. That's what is shared here from people around the world, encouraging others of the same spirit, heart, and mind. This is a starting place or even a place of repose for your journey into wholeness and harmony. There are opportunities for you to share your prose, music, poetry, or storytelling on the show as well. Now, do subscribe to Toward a Better Life through your favorite podcast platform and keep following for weekly magical insights into earth-based spirituality, self-development, self-care. Also, remember to support the show by leaving your review on Apple and Spotify podcasts. It only takes a moment to just leave that little review. I do appreciate it. And do visit the website, towardabetterlife.com, where you can contact me to learn more about free discovery calls to help you on your journey from a personal level. Send all your inquiries to me, Kevin, at towardabetterlife.com. You know, today's world is moving so fast that we sometimes forget to pause, to breathe, or take a moment to reflect on simple truths that can be quite profound and coupled with opportunities to learn. And that's what some of the old stories, myths, and legends shared from Bards long ago told. Bards kept those stories, myths, and legends alive to teach us and preserve truths that helped create better lives for those who truly listened. And that's where we're headed in today's chat with Michael Wilson. Michael is a psychotherapist with an extensive background in psychotherapy, transpersonal psychology or spiritual psychology, and he's written excellent books on the subject. He also recently published something very unique and very special, especially for today's show. It's a phenomenal book. It's Portals into Deep Imagination, Celtic Mythology, Nature's Year, and Quest for the Soul. Are you ready to expand your spirit, heart, and soul? Well, let's settle in for some soulful and magical insights of life itself with Michael Wilson on Toward a Better Life. I'm delighted to welcome Michael Wilson to the program today. And Michael, are you in the Highlands of Scotland or are you in the Lowlands of Scotland?
That's a great question, Kevin. And thanks for having me on your program.
Sure.
I'm really delighted to be here. I'm in the lowlands. I'm in the borderlands, in fact.
Okay.
The borderlands. So that's sort of south of Edinburgh.
Okay. All right.
And it's north of Newcastle. So I'm in the Northumberland, not far from the holy island of Lindisfarne.
Oh, okay. What Michael is going to be sharing with us today, folks, is Michael has a book that's going to be coming out, The Portals into a Deep Imagination, Celtic Mythology, Nature's Year, and the Quest for Soul. Yeah. And I'm excited to get a copy of the book as soon as I can. I know that. But Amazon has done a pretty good job of sharing the information about it, and we'll kind of go into that. But first off, Michael has quite a, I'm going to say, colorful history, like many of us do that follow a Druid path. And though his Druid path, I know he joined OBOD 15 or so years ago, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, Michael, in what led you to Druidry in this modern age? When we talk about Druids and Druidry, we don't really have any, I'm going to say, concrete history that we're aware of, but we do know that by culture and so forth, that Druidry or something similar to that has been around for literally thousands of years. But we've revamped that and we've kind of brought it back. around the 18th century. So we don't have to go back that far just yet, but tell us, neither one of us, either, both of us are on the aged side, but I don't think we were born in the 18th century. So why don't you
Not
tell us a little
quite.
bit about Michael?
Not quite. Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for that lovely introduction. And yeah, I mean, it's a great question of what brought me into Druidry. Um, if I say to you that my the roots of Druidry have been in me for many decades, um, although I wouldn't have called it that. Um, I've been immersed in the natural world in various ways, from growing up in parts of Europe and then in Scotland. And it's always been in the context of the natural world that my life has felt more meaningful. I'll put it that way. Um, I read theology at university. I
Hmm.
read theology, then I did a couple of degrees in theology. I found myself wondering whether I might become a monk or a priest, neither of which happened, but I got quite close to it in my late 20s and early 30s. But there again, I found that my most profound spiritual experiences um, were in the natural world.
Hmm.
And so I then retrained in psychology,
Hmm.
and that was the path. And psychotherapy. I trained in psychotherapy too, and that has become my path ever since. And I let go of any formal belief system in order to commit to my own search and inquiry into the spirituality, not religion, which is different, but
Hmm.
into spirituality. And that brought me to the grove of Druidry. The
Hmm.
oak trees were waiting,
Hmm.
and I entered in.
Hmm.
And I feel so at home there
Yeah.
in amongst the trees. And so that's the short story, really. But also had a bit of a windy path because I've also have a long-standing interest in many of the esoteric traditions of the West,
Mm.
um, and in meditation. I've been a meditation practitioner for many, many years, but it's mostly on and off now. My practice, meditation practice, sort of has given way to a nature connection practice, a nature connection practice. And my interest, certainly for the past, you know, 15, 20 years or more, has been in the natural world
Hmm.
and what that provides, the benefits the natural world provides.
I mean, working and walking and
Mm,
communing within nature, to
yeah.
me, to my definition, I would say that's still meditating because
Yeah.
it's a very special time. And I've shared before that uh, after being in our place where we built a home here in the western North Carolina mountains,
Mm,
um, shortly after we moved here is when I began my venture with OBOD, and I purposefully built a a rudimentary grove, but it's my grove. It's a space where I go and I commune and I talk. I'll use the term. I talk with the spirits. I talk with the spirits of the land. I talk with my guides, my helpers, and I've had profound experiences there already. And profound is such a subjective term from one person to the next, and yet it's very real when we experience it, isn't it, Michael?
yeah, it certainly is. And It's as if all the doors are out there, all the openings
Mm.
for deepening and
Hmm.
connection are all around us. And we don't need to do much to find ourselves into the shallows of mysticism, even, or in the depths of spirituality, however we wish to define that. Wherever there's the natural world, there is the path to connection.
Hmm.
And with it, with that, the connection to the bigger mystery, which seems to hold everything, the bigger
Yeah.
mystery with a capital M.
Yeah. It's a unique opportunity when you think about it that, oftentimes I will tell people when I'm trying to work with them in a musculoskeletal manipulation massage that I will tell them because they're trying to help, I'll say, let go. And so often I've even found the practical applications and implications of that within the natural world is to, you want to know what it's like and to really experience the natural world, let go.
Let's go. I
You
love
know,
those words. Let's
you know,
go.
just
Let's
just
go.
don't it's like even in hypnotherapy, the thing that we talk about sometimes is that, well, what can I expect? And I said, don't expect anything. Just
Mm.
because expectation is the road to disappointment, because oh, I didn't experience that, so it was a bad experience. Well, you put on your own expectations, and if we go in without expectations, to me, then how about you, Michael? That if we
No,
don't have the
I
expectations,
Kevin, I resonate with your words, and there is something about openness, isn't there?
yeah,
When we let go of an expectation, we become more open to who's out there.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
who being a tree or who being a bird. The
hmm,
subjective. We become more open to communications from the rest of nature, of which we're a part, of course, as you know, and with it, I think we become more susceptible to experiences of the greater and bigger mystery
yeah.
that
It's like,
seem to break through with the light coming through the trees or the bird that crosses our path at that precise moment when we're thinking about the possibility of being lost or being found or worried about something. That nature somehow comes to us with a message as well as with itself. It comes with something else. So there's sort of almost a double a double meaning
hmm.
in our encounters with the natural world.
And I just listened to about to finish an episode from Druid Cast with Dave the Bard. It was recorded back in 2015.
Hmm.
And honestly, I want to reach out to the person that was giving the talk. I don't recall her name, but I know she was going for her PhD in fairy tales.
Ah, okay.
And
Yeah.
fascinating thing. But what I'm going at here is that, so much of this information that we have that's bestowed upon us, we think, well, that's a mystery, or there's a certain mystique to it that, plants and animals talk to us. But it's like some old indigenous people of North America would tell you, it's not that the trees and the animals stopped talking with us. We stopped listening, or we ceased the ability to listen. Because if you really listen, if you really sit down in a forest, or if you sit down in your back porch, if you're in the city and all you have is a little tiny tree, that little tiny tree is in your care, and that little tiny tree probably, I'm going to say the crazy thing, probably loves you. And if you can
Probably
commune with
does.
it, pardon?
Probably does.
Yeah. So, no matter where you are, you can connect. And I think that's it's one of the pillars, if I can, of what we do in the Druid world is that we connect with the natural world. That seems to be a common factor, doesn't it?
I think so. I think you're right there. And there's something too. for me in what you say about the fairy tales, or we can folk tales and mythology, that the tales open us up to something,
Mm,
which is more than the linear lives that we often find ourselves in, our daily lives. They open us up to something else
mm,
that is difficult to put in words, but stories somehow capture the essence of a deeper meaning to life, and with it, the spirituality. And fairy tales are wonderful truths, aren't they? They're
yeah,
truths.
yeah. And I know that the young lady shared in her talk um, an earlier version, I guess, from probably the 17th century or maybe 16th century of what we know as Red Riding Hood.
Mm, mm.
And you may have even touched on that in your book, but it's quite a bit different
It is
than the
different.
version from the 18th or 19th century, which is kind of
Yeah.
I'm gonna cross the border here and say it's not the Walt Disney version, is it?
No, no, that's absolutely right. And there is a section in my book on the wolf and our projections that we put
Yeah.
onto and a Carl Jung's concept of the shadow,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and that somehow the wolf has been the receiver of our projections for a long time, and probably still is in many ways. And that Jung's concept of the shadow invites us to think about what it is we project onto life and onto people and onto other things.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And what does that reveal about ourselves?
Mm. And that's significant that we reflect ourselves in others. And when we see
Mm,
someone else, that goes
mm,
back to a very old truth that, like yours and my path crossed. This isn't happenstance and this isn't just something being done. If you really look at it very closely, there are no happenstances, that everything happens for a reason, that
mm,
Michael Wilson and Kevin Pennell met. And we
mhm,
may have met through OBOD, through the hearth
mhm,
at OBOD. And yet there's a reason for that. There's a reason for our talking as we are. And if you really look at the mystique behind that, it's miraculous because we all have a reason. I often have shared, even in classes that I've taught, that, I may be up here presenting the program, but I may present myself as the teacher, but oftentimes during even the class or workshop, I'm the student
mm,
because I hear the truths that come from your mouths, and when we really are in that space, and I know you must have experienced this, when you're in that space and you're really connected with all the students and all the group,
mm,
there's a oneness there that goes beyond words, and you can really feel stuff happen. And when I set up a class, the thing I love to do is I don't do linear. And you know what I mean
mm,
by that.
I do.
At the best of my ability, I try to set up in a circle. And I'm part of the circle. I'm not in the middle of the circle. And
Mm.
that way we're all together. So,
That's it. And as you say, it's the teacher somehow enters into the circle in ways that we don't plan or anticipate. Whether the teacher is a bird crossing our path
hmm
or something else. Um, in my work with groups, most of my work with groups is in the natural world. So we'll sit in locations,
mm,
and I'm not the teacher, I'm the facilitator,
yes.
or I'm the one who's holding the space. I'm
Mm,
just holding the space. Um, and there may be a theme, and then things arise. People bring what they bring,
hmm
and things arise. And people go off into the woods or to the waterfall or to the river, and they come back with a story. And then the story affects everyone else in the group. And so it's an organic unfolding process that has something of a profound mystery at the heart of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's it's just, what can I say? It's just a wonderful journey when we open ourselves up.
It is,
And
again,
one of
coming
the,
back to that word openness.
yeah, it and the piece that just keeps wanting to come through to me is that film that came out from James Cameron on Avatar. And one of the pieces from that, I when I looked at what they referred to as the tree of life, and I saw somebody that picked up on the same thing that I did, is you remember all the little tendrils that came out from the tree of life, all the
I do
beautiful
very well.
colors, and how you would connect with that. And I kept looking at that and I said, mycelium, mycelium. And somebody else picked up on it and I said, that's it. And who's to say that when we're out walking in the woods like that, that we aren't touched at some level by mycelium and or mycelium-like energies or experiences of the bird crossing the path, of the chipmunk running alongside of us. I can even go.
Mm,
We talk about the land a lot, but I can even
mm,
share that there was a connection when I scuba dived many years ago off the coast of Florida. We would do what they call a beach dive, and
mhm.
so you gather your gear, you swim out 200 yards, and you're in 60 feet of water or 35 feet of water, whatever. And I was out there and about, Michael, and all of a sudden I just felt like something was watching me. You know that feeling.
I do
And I
indeed.
looked and I saw a barracuda, and the barracuda is
Wow.
probably 30 yards away, 20 to 30
Wow.
yards away. It was really beautiful water, very clear water.
Mm,
And I said, okay. And I know enough about how these creatures act that they're very curious. They're not aggressive. They're just very curious. What are you doing in my space, kind of a thing. You're very interesting. Not as though you're an invader, but who are you?
hmm
And I swam a little further, and all of a sudden I looked, and there he was, a little bit closer. And then I looked again, and he's a little closer. And then nothing. And at that depth, you can stay down there for about an hour. And probably 15 to 20 minutes passed, and I just, whatever, and I had that feeling again. Michael, I turned my head, and honest to goodness, he was right there next to my face mask. He was not 2 feet from me,
Wow.
and he was every bit of probably 3.5, 4 feet long. And if you know what a barracuda, imagine a barracuda, they're about at least 25% or 30% teeth at the
hmm
front, and the rest of it
hmm
is, so I'm seeing this giant thing, and I just looked at him. I didn't, panic or anything, didn't get my knife or, whatever. I just looked at him and he looked at me, and we just kind of conversed at another level. And we just had it. We had a grand time, and then he just swam off because we did what needed to be done. And if people understood that that barracuda came into my space at some level, I may not even know now why, other than it made my heart feel good. It made my spirit feel good that I was able to commune. But at a deeper level, all these things are here for us to appreciate, and to miss them is really too bad. It's a shame that you don't see that.
That's such a lovely story because to me, it sort of, I want to say that was a soul-centric moment,
Hmm.
a soul
Love
encounter,
that.
if you like. And that that no doubt left you both changed in some way. That the Barracuda was having an experience just as you were.
Yeah.
And in my book, I write a lot about the soul-centric moment as the thing that happens between subjects,
Hmm.
not so much the thing that happens on our own. We don't create soul moments as such. I don't think. I think the soul moments are the experiences that happen between things. So that the fox or the bird or the tree there's an experience that's a co-participatory thing that's going on. There's a co-creative event that's happening, activity that's happening. And, going back to my earlier reflections on my journey of experiences, of spiritual experiences of happening mostly, almost exclusively in nature, that's exactly the way it is, I think. That the experience comes in that space. You can call it a liminal space, if you like, or the space in between the between me and the light that fell through the leaves in that tree at that precise moment, or the moment the fox looked at me. In those moments, that encounter, that meeting, there's something that happens.
Mm.
I think that's it. It's the soul-centric moment.
Okay, so
Sometimes soul feels as if it's in my body. Sometimes we feel, other times we feel we're in soul. It's somehow surrounded, it surrounds us, holds us, contains us in some way.
mhm.
And at other times it feels as if it's something in between,
Hmm.
that I'm not the author of a soul experience.
Mm. Where we go into sometimes when young children, I'm going to say from basically birth up until 5 or 6 years old. And I remember when we've had a store before, a
Mm,
metaphysical sort of store,
mm,
and people would come in and probably for at least the past 25 to 30 years, um, I'm a little more, I'm going to say, energetically sensitive. Although I probably always have been too much further back, probably into pre-adolescent, I just didn't pay attention.
that's where it
But
starts.
but it's really interesting, Michael, that sometimes I would notice that a young couple would come in and they'd be holding a babe, and I'd look and I'd make a connection with that child. And I like your term. I'm going to start using that myself because we would have a
Mhm,
soul-centric moment.
mhm,
And I would see not a baby, but I'd see a very old soul. And then the eyes would really connect. And that child, and it wasn't just one, it was invariably happening when it wasn't bouncing all over the place, that they would have that moment, and that old soul would come through, and you'd see this little gentle smile saying, I know what's going on. Do you?
mhm,
You know, and then poof, and they're gone. And I think
mhm,
when you're talking about the soul, I think that's the part where some believe that the old soul is still trying to identify and unify with that new soul, that new not the new soul, but the new spirit, the new being, the new body that it's been brought into, and it doesn't know exactly how to function quite yet. So it goes back to its happy place, which is out in the ethers, and it's the eternal part. But every now and again, it'll pop back in, and I've seen the same thing, Michael, in someone who's older,
mhm.
because that's the soul that's getting ready to move on. And it's miraculous. It's quite beautiful. And you can really see it sometimes when I've been out in nature and volunteered at a local arboretum. And sometimes you would see, I'm going to say elders, but look at us. I'm going to
Mhm.
say elders more elder than us. And you would see that little smile on their face because they see what's going on and they understand that this is just a beautiful school and a beautiful opportunity for us to learn and,
Mm.
and to move through space to become a better human and be a better part and a contributor to the world around us.
I woke upon your dragon lines, a power from below. I can't explain the reason, but it's a calling that I know. I feel you as you lead me on the paths of your veins, across across your mighty mountains, your rivers and open plains, your rivers and open plains. I ride upon the eastern breeze, the power of the air. My thoughts soar high where the red kite flies, its spirit takes me there. I spread my wings, circle round the sun. I look down on the dragon lines where the kite and the dragons won. The kite and the dragons won. A while with my silent friends, the spirits of the trees. They gently guide me deeper to the doorway that you leave. My roots reach deep to the earth down below, where I journey on the dragon lines to a place that I know. To a place that I know. Explain the reason, but it's a calling that I know. My roots reach deep to the earth down below, where I journey on the dragon lines to a place that I know. To a place that I know. To a place that I know. To a place that I know.
I want to move toward your book a little bit. You've touched on it a couple of times. In the time that we have available, that so many times some people would think that Druids and Druidry, you have visions of people in white robes and some wearing hats, some not. They may have an athame, or they may have a sword, or and some decrepit looking person, and they don't identify the fact that we have psychotherapists and psychologists that are out there who are Druids. And it says, Druids, we're Druids, and it doesn't really, our vocation did not necessarily reflect our philosophy, I guess is what I'm driving at. And it's okay. But to think about your book and the book that you brought out, I really like it in the sense that the Celtic myths and legends, you make them come alive with metaphor and symbolism. So can you tell us a little bit about your book and what we can expect when we get it?
Sure, Kevin. It's your words, I think, that metaphors that come alive. It really is about that. So the book is a journey through I want to say again, the soul-centric year. So it begins at Samhain, 31st of October to the 2nd of November. And so it begins in the dark half of the year, which is the time of the year for introspection, for going in, and it follows the year round, passing through the gates and thresholds of the 8 festivals of the year,
Mm.
week by week, weaving in stories that we have attributed to the Celts, these stories that have been written by monks, Romans, Greeks, that have come to us in different forms and that are a mix of deep imagination of the authors.
Mm.
I think we know little about the Celts. We know nothing about what they believed.
Mm.
Um, but somehow in these stories, there's a capturing of an oral tradition that goes back much further than the 12th century,
Hmm.
13th century. It goes back. And so the book takes these stories and looks at them from the lens of psychology. It looks at them from a Jungian perspective, largely, from the perspective of depth psychology. And it asks the question of what can we learn about ourselves from the extraordinary things that happen in these tales?
Mm.
What can we learn about ourselves? So, for example, with the at Beltane, so that's the 1st of May, and in the book it's week 26, I think.
Okay.
Um, we come across the figure and Angus and the dream of Angus, the tale of wandering Angus. And as we know, that's the tale of Angus who's visited at night by a woman, a dream figure, a goddess of dreams, even, and he's captured by her energy and by her presence, that he feels that he has a longing to be with her for the rest of his life.
Mm.
Yet, whenever he reaches out for her, she disappears. And so a whole year goes by, as they say in the stories, a whole year and a day goes by
Right.
until he's able to be with her again. And so the story unfolds. But in that, psychologically, there's a type of truth about how we are often following a deep inner something, a deep inner impulse for something of mystery, of depth, of soul, of something that we feel that we've lost or feel that we've had a glimpse of, and a feel that we need to pursue
Mm.
and be reunited with. It's the story of the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, if you like, and it's all encapsulated in that wonderful tale, The Dream of Angus. And so the book sort of goes round the year reflecting on such stories.
And when I hear things like that, my mind went to um, even the practical application of something like this. And I read when I read a book, I tell people a lot that I have at least two books going at the same time. One is typically a nonfiction, and the other is what I call brain candy. and and, and nonetheless, I think that either one can teach me and can teach us if we go beyond and beyond just the printed words on the page and see how it touches the life itself. And
Mm.
what you've just shared is so significant to me because, listeners, how many times have you had a dream and the dream is of you pursuing something that's just out of reach? and you're so very, very frustrated, and it just stays out of reach, and you just can't quite get it. And then poof, it's gone. And now you're thoroughly disappointed. But then the inverse of that is think what it's like when you pursue, 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 and then for whatever reason you stop pursuing and it comes to you because then you're ready. The pursuit is ended. And I've even shared that that's how my partner and I got together. That
Okay.
I stopped pursuing I stopped pursuing a mate. And when I stopped pursuing, the universe says, "Okay, now you're ready." And
Something magical happens when we let go.
there's that thought again, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, it is.
Something magical happens when we just let go. And
That's it.
it's just it's a beautiful narration of life itself.
It is. And in the book, so each reflection or meditation or contemplation around the wheel of the year is paired up, if you like, with a series of practices.
Yeah.
So for every week, there's a practice, and most of the practices take place in the natural world. So it may include going for a walk and thinking a particular thing as you walk. It may include sitting or leaning or noticing, observing, and maybe doing some simple ritual or ceremony. But all the themes are linked up to a practice. And the themes, they pass through the festivals, so 8 festivals that punctuate the year. And the themes that unfold from that are linked in some way to the festival. And that's the journey. It's a journey, it's a spiraling journey. It's a journey that spirals deeper and deeper into the material as we go around the year.
The last paragraph of the synopsis or whatever as you will of the book reads ultimately portals into deep imagination as a companion for contemporary spirituality in an age of transition, a resource for pathwalkers to live more from soul via the ancients, nature connection, and life's mystery. An anthology of weekly contemplation and practices for spirituality through the lens of psychology, inspired by the culture and mythology of the Celts in Britain and Ireland and their connection with nature.
Mm.
That really sums it up. For the past few years, I'll just use a term that I've been inhaling books. There's just never quite enough of them out there. I've got two that I'm reading and I've got three in the way by. So, but I suspect this book, from just reading that portion and from what you've shared about the 8 parts and 6 or 7 weeks apart, which is of course what we look at is the 8 seasons, or if I can use, or 8 times of the year.
Mm.
So this is something that we could actually do through a year in looking at your book. Is that was your intention?
That's exactly it. It's every week of the year, and so that which deliberately starts on the end of October there at Samhain. It deliberately starts there, not because the Celts believed that the year began in end of October and November, because it's unlikely that they did.
Hmm.
So it's more, I start the year there because it's more about the darkness that we go into. It's the darkness we arise from and come into this world from, if you like.
Uh-huh.
But it's also a darkness that we go into, a place for um, gestation and introspection, and where we sow seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And then we root ourselves in the darkness. As Carl Jung said, what did he say? He said, the path to awakening is by way of watery darkness,
Mm.
via the depths, rather than by the way of light.
Mm.
And this is because the path of light often bypasses the insights darkness brings.
Hmm.
And a path of light is not necessarily grounded in the earth. And I often think of it in terms of a path of light grows wings instead of feet.
Mm.
And so it begins at Samhain and continues through the year. And it's a cycle, it's a journey that you can start anywhere you like, of course. And if you're buying the book in May or June or October, you start there. But then you go round the year from that point, and then you repeat it the following year.
Oh, you heard that. I was just going to ask that question. So we're
Yes,
connected, aren't we?
we're connected. We're connected, Kevin. Yeah. You repeat it the following year, and there'll be another layer
Hmm.
that you will discover about yourself. And so I've just actually been going through my schedule or my diary, my work diary, and I've been putting the weeks, the soul-centric weeks in the diary, and I've been noticing how that puts me out of sync with the status quo. The
Hmm.
status quo being our expectations and oughts and shoulds in life.
Okay.
And I notice that it puts me out of sync because I'm putting the week beginning there rather than somewhere else. The week doesn't begin in, the year doesn't begin on the 1st of January within the book. It begins earlier. And so it's this out of syncness, as if the soul is out of sync with the world.
Wow.
It's in sync with a greater mystery. And that's the whole premise of the book, really, is how to realign ourselves with our innate wisdom that will inevitably bring us out of alignment with the status quo that we often find ourselves living our lives in. So it's an invitation, really. It's an invitation to explore another way, another path, whatever name you give to that path, whether it's Druidry or whether it's shamanism or whether it's whatever other path. It's to find a way of committing to a path that has nature in it
Okay.
and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. And you said another word that seems to pervade most conversations when we move this direction, and that is innate, the innate wisdom.
Innate. Mm.
And the innate wisdom is that wisdom that we are given before birth. It
Mm,
it
mm,
it has it has traveled with us. I've often said that who I am now is the result of who I have been for thousands of years. And each time I am incarnated, I have learned, I have brought something with me, and I have in the ethers decided this is something I really need to work on. So everything is brought into play to help me to learn whatever that lesson is that I need to learn. And when we look at a cyclical year like you're sharing, and we look at life in a circle and not as a linear thought, so much more can take place.
mm,
It's interesting you mentioned status quo a couple of times
mm,
because
mm,
I just had a program, an episode on some weeks ago about this very thing
mm, mm,
that to free ourselves from the status quo. And people talk about I need to transform my life and so forth, but to begin that journey, we go within. And among the indigenous people of North America, they would call that bear medicine
mhm,
because the bear goes into hibernation.
mm,
And if you really look into the biology and things of that nature in the study of wildlife, you'll find that a bear really doesn't sleep for 3 months.
mhm,
It's not a mini Rip Van Winkle program. A
mhm.
bear is just in a state of what we would call slumber, and it's a they do sleep completely from time to time, but have you ever noticed, Michael, that in the winter months we tend to slow down? There's a
We
reason
certainly
for that.
do. Hmm.
Yeah. And it's a time for us to contemplate. It's a time for us to go within. And that's what they
Mm.
talk about bear medicine. It's a time to go within. And
Okay. Mm.
there's fear there because there is, as you say, there's darkness. But within the darkness there's light. I mean, that is portrayed in yin and yang. That within every bit of darkness there's light, and within light there's a little bit of darkness. And that's how we learn, isn't it?
It is indeed, and that word fear sort of resonates with me too. And there's the more conscious part of ourselves, I think. We sort of you give the word ego or egoic
Yes.
consciousness. I guess is often afraid of losing a sense of itself.
Yeah.
It's afraid of losing its um, identity, which is self-created and conditioned that we're conditioned into,
Hmm.
and turn its attention to something else, whatever that something is. We call it depth. We can only, I think, often refer to metaphor or abstract terms when we turn our attention to soul or depth. Um, and maybe it's useful to remind ourselves that, when we think of left and right hemisphere, brain hemisphere, left and right brain, that the egoic consciousness arose from its origins in the right brain.
Really?
Hmm. So we weren't always with an ego.
Well, that's interesting too. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could see another podcast here.
Okay, okay. Go for it. Because we weren't always with an ego. An ego grows over time. It develops over time. But the right brain, let's call it that for a moment, is the part of ourselves that lives outside of time.
Okay.
And and it's the part of ourselves that um, it relishes in the language of metaphor, image, and symbol. It's the part of us that dreams.
Mm.
Although the whole brain is enters into a dreaming experience, but it's the right brain is quite often active at night and in dreams and in daydreams and
Okay.
in any creative pursuit, whether it's artistic or scientific or some other creative pursuit. The right brain is quite often active and engaged.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and
Now I'm
so
with you. Yeah.
yeah, you got we're there together on this. My book is also about that. It's about how we engage more of the right brain and encourage the ego to rest or sleep, or I use a phrase, ego porosity. How to create a porous ego
Okay.
that is more open and susceptible to the deeper mysteries of life,
Hmm.
the ego porosity.
Oh, that's can definitely be another podcast. This is great. Poof, and the time is disappearing quickly.
Okay, sadly. Oh,
Sadly.
I'm enjoying my conversation with
Yeah.
you, Kevin. I
Likewise.
really am.
This is, and if I, yeah, we'll let that portion be as it is. But
We
one
will.
thing I do want to always bring out for folks is what does Michael Wilson do to create a better life for himself?
Well, I can tell you that it's an easy thing for me to say, but it's been a difficult thing for me to sustain a commitment to. It's to get into the natural world and connect to whatever, whoever is there.
Mm, hmm.
That's what it is to connect to the natural world and not to ignore the connections with people, of course, but it's to connect to the things we love.
Okay,
It really is to connect to the things we love, whatever it may be.
that's beautiful. So Michael, you have a website. Is it michaelwilson.com? Is that what I saw?
It's michaelwilson.uk.com.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you also, for anyone that wants a copy of the book, once again, tell us about it.
Portals into the Deep Imagination.
And it is available through Amazon. And I would say that
Amazon, through any good bookshop. And I'm encouraging people to support their local bookshops wherever they can.
Oh, yes.
And to buy it through a local bookshop because it's available through any bookshop.
Okay. But
Amazon quite often is the quickest route.
Yeah. But let's talk sustainability of something
exactly.
That may be disappearing. We have a I'll even say their name here near us in Asheville is called Malprops, and Malprops has been there for a while, and it is a local bookshop, and it is loaded with books. You can literally, I would say, almost get lost in there because it's just a lovely experience. And I've got friends that I knew up in New England that one lady had her bookshop there when we had our shop, and she was a delightful person. And just to go in there and you lose yourself in some of these smaller places. But yeah, support your local bookshop.
Indeed.
If somebody wanted to reach out and connect with you, Michael, is there a way to do that in case they looked for some of your wisdom for speaking or classes?
Of course, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, my email address is on my website.
Okay.
And people just go to my website and they'll be able to contact me from there.
Okay. Any parting thoughts we have for this edition? Because I think we're going to have a part 2.
That would be lovely and most welcome. I just want to say how much I've appreciated this time with you.
Yeah. The feeling's mutual.
For you, it's early morning. For me, it's mid-afternoon. So we're in 2 different time zones. It's just a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
To make this connection.
But this is definitely a case where time or space knows no bounds.
That's exactly it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it.
So, Michael, this has been delightful. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate your work, and we look forward to next time. Enjoy your day in the woods.
Thank you so much. You take care. Go well.
Mountain before me invites me to climb the path leading higher, taking my time, reaching the summit and touching the sky. I called to the mother and heard her reply, and she said to me, "High and low, wherever you go, from the highest of mountains to the forests below, near or far, wherever you are, from the heart of the ocean to the far distant stars." She calls from the forest, her secrets within. She knows where I am going, where I have been, standing in shadows, her light shining through. In the darkest of forests, I'm always with you. And she said to me, "High and low, wherever you go, from the highest of mountains to the forests below, near or far, wherever you are, from the heart of the ocean to the far distant stars." in search of an island so far out of view, riding the waves with the tide's ebb and flow. In dreams of the ocean, I'll go where you go, and I'll be with you. High, low, wherever you go, from the highest of mountains to the forests below. Near, far, wherever you are, from the heart of the ocean to the far distant stars. Gazing at time through the heavens above, no end to this journey, the story of love. Spirals of stardust are made up of you. You're always with me as I'm always with you, and I'll be with you. High, low, wherever you go, from the highest of mountains to the forests below. Near, far, wherever you are, from the heart of the ocean to the far distant stars.
That was Willowolf once again with I'll Be With You. In the midst of my chat with Michael Wilson, Willowolf also performed the Dragon Lines, and all music on the episode was used with the permission of Willowolf. And again, a link to their music is in the show notes. Thanks, Willowolf, and thank you, Michael Wilson, for sharing insights into soulful connections. They're really, really heartfelt. And links for his website and books are also available in the show notes. Lastly, I want to say and extend my special thanks to you for listening to Toward a Better Life. If you're seeking insights and advice on how to create a better life for yourself, and if you'd like to dive into self-care, self-development, distant shamanic work, Reiki, drop me a line and ask for your free discovery call. You can also visit my website, towardabetterlife.com, for past episodes, blog entries, ways to enhance your spiritual journey, and a few products to assist you on that journey. Send all inquiries to me, Kevin, at towardabetterlife.com. Please subscribe and follow to Toward a Better Life through your favorite podcast platform. Please do leave a review on Apple and Spotify podcast. It helps spread the word about the program and helps others create better lives for themselves as well. If you've got any questions, or if you'd like to share a story, music, or prose, if it's an audio file, send it to me as an MP3, please. And if you want to be my guest, just write to me, Kevin, at towardabetterlife.com. Until next week, enjoy your magical and soul-felt journey toward a better life.